Hi, welcome to Author Straight Talk with Sarah Gertis. My name is Chuck, and in our barn again this week, it's the lovely Sarah. I love this barn.
I love it too. I actually want to start filming everything here. If this continues, and we're having as much fun as we are having now,
Are you making
I'm
a
gonna come back in the
cake?
summer.
Are you
No,
making a...
seriously.
Is that what you're
What?
doing? You're making a cake today or what?
I'm doing it old school, Chuck, because look at this. This thing rotates. This is how they did in
That's
the
awesome.
olden days.
That's
I know.
hilarious.
So I just had to show this. This is amazing.
Well, the whole point of this particular video series is to kind of go back to the old days when you started and take some of the...
Thank you. Thank you very much.
well, not the old days, but your experience, your 20 plus years of experience being an author has taught you a lot. That's why your new book, Author Straight Talk, is coming out, where you really dive deep into a lot of the subjects that we're just kind of hitting on, high level, during this video series. So today, I thought it'd be interesting to talk about the fear and the anxiety and the, oh my goodness, what if I'm writing this and my mom hates it, those kinds of things. Is it true that most authors kind of struggle with that thing?
Can I talk about my mom for just a second? Can I
Please.
show my insecurity and fears to the world?
Sure.
Is it true? Well, it is true because there's always a lot of are people going to call your baby ugly type of thing?
Yeah.
However, when the whole world is calling your baby ugly, it usually doesn't matter. A lot of people, including myself, I I discount feedback that is critical of me because they don't know me. I mean, if they make it personal, very few readers do. I know as a reader, I don't make it personal with an author. Um, and there's no fear or insecurity when an author will write a review and say, oh, I wish the character would stop talking about his or her watches. Or, okay, she went overboard on the narrative on describing the mountain in the background. Actually, those are really good for a reader to say because I listen. I look at the reviews. And in fact, Chuck, when I didn't know you really well, you actually provided some feedback that, believe it or not, I incorporated into my next book. You're kind of like, tone it down on the descriptions of the women. I get that she dresses nice, but do it the first time, but don't do it the other times. Fear and insecurity comes to play when your mother tells you she doesn't like your book. And then I think, oh my gosh, my mother, I'm supposed to be the beautiful baby. If my mom is calling me ugly, what is the world going to call me? And so, so before you ask, I will tell you that my mother actually hates my women's general interest genre. And hate is a big word, but she's a shrink and she doesn't believe so much in happy endings. And I got to tell you, my books generally have happy endings. The reader's very satisfied. And so for years, however, Chuck, she was telling me, she couldn't get into it. She didn't really understand the characters. They weren't resonating, but I kept going anyway. I've kind of thought, well, she's my mom. She's a bit older, but it kind of bothered me. I still kept going. It wasn't until just this last year when my fourth book came out that she was honest. And I said, Mom, it's okay if you hate my books. I've moved on. I'm okay with that. There are people that actually buy them and like them. And she said, no, it's not the books. She said they're well written, but I just have a hard time identifying with characters who have that much success or who have satisfying relationships. And I said, well, Mom, basically you want more angst. And she said, yeah, I want more angst. And I said, oh, and so suddenly I was like relieved. It was like the cancer was gone and I felt really good about myself. But insecurity and fear comes from, probably those closest to you and not the strangers.
So how did you overcome that? Because I can imagine the first time you heard your mom say that, or you sensed that, or felt it,
That
or
I was the ugly baby.
yeah. I mean, so
um,
did you beat yourself up, or did you just go, no, I'm tough, I'm moving on?
No, I will be honest. I had a pity party for a couple of days. I think I drank way too much hot chocolate and I had a lot of baths. And then I woke up and said, well, I have a choice. I can let her opinion. And honestly, I will tell you, her opinion mattered the most to me. I mean, she's a concert pianist. She's very smart. She's a very, very well-read woman. In fact, I have my love of books from her. So if anybody, her opinion mattered the most. So anyway, I eat my hot chocolate and I get all buzzed out and I go have a bunch of baths. And I got out one day and I just said, okay, well, I'm going to keep writing because I am going to let those hours and those days pass anyway. And I'm going to do nothing with it, or I'm going to continue to write for me. And so that's what I made the choice to do is I just continue to write.
Did you find yourself, did you go to a friend, your husband, like, did you have a cheerleader in your corner kind of pushing you on, or was this just your own sheer willpower?
You know, you read my mind. And actually, Chuck, since you haven't even seen this book in your physical hands, you wouldn't know that I actually deal with that section in it, because honestly, I had no cheerleaders. My husband theoretically supported my writing. It meant that I wasn't spending money on, clothes or purses or something. So I wasn't costing him money. But when you're an unproven commodity and you're in the back room creating, nobody knows what that is like. I didn't have any friends who were authors. I didn't have any relatives who understood what I was doing. They had no concept of the hours and the torment and all of that stuff. So I kept quiet, honestly. And in my book, I give you a number of tips, but I also just say, keep your head down, believe in yourself, and keep writing, because it's really easy for people to come back and give you a lot of accolade and say, oh, your book is great. And, you must have done you did a great job. But the fact is for 7 years, I wrote away in anonymity with no support. Again, my husband was there saying, oh yeah, you're writing, that's great. But there was nobody to talk to, and I just did it. So today, 8 years later, people can say, oh, wow, it was so easy. And, you didn't suffer at all. Well, guess what? I thought I was going to fail. And I thought, nobody's ever going to buy my book and I'm never going to get an agent. And going back to my one phrase, Chuck, which I say a lot, the time is going to pass, whether you use it or not. So you might as well use it.
Yeah. And I think we all go through times in our life, whether we're writing or not, where we need that honesty, like you talked about with your agent and other people who will just say, hey, that's really bad. You need to keep moving forward. But we also need
Right.
cheerleaders. We need those people in our life to say, you know what? You might feel like you're a failure right now, or somebody else may have said, this is not good work, but you keep going. Just what you said. Keep going. Keep moving forward. And to your point, the time's going to move on without us, and
Right.
you have the choice. You write or you don't write.
hmm I will tell you one of the lights that actually shone very bright for me early on was I wrote an adult suspense book, and it was really my first effort. I think I was probably 27 or 28. And there was a guy at Microsoft who I happen to know through work. I wasn't working there, but I knew him. I'd done business with him, and he was a huge, huge reader. I mean, he had signed first editions from every major author you can possibly think of. And he graciously said he would read my first manuscript. And looking back, I think I was an idiot. What did I know? That was 20 years ago. And he came back, and his feedback, if he would have been harsh on me, I probably would have stopped, to be
Hmm.
quite honest with you. But he was so kind, and he really emphasized great idea, um, great plot line, good characters, keep going. And the kindest thing he did for me was he didn't point out that I had 25 characters and I needed 8. He didn't point out that there were huge gaps in the plot itself, and I learned that later. So he gave me just enough hope to say, okay, I'm not great, but I have some essentials and I can keep going. And I'm telling you, when nobody else thought I was going to amount to anything, his feedback kept me going. And to this day, 20 years later, I really thank him.
Well, the lesson from today is find that person. Find the person who will be honest
Yeah,
with you.
yeah. Hopefully you are lucky to have that person in your life.
Well, we all need it. And again, like I said, whether we're writing books or not, but certainly as an author, you need somebody who's willing to do that, to coach you and say, yep, keep going, don't give up.
Mhm.
And I know you go into a
Right.
lot more detail on this in the book. Author Straight Talk, coming out soon. Sarah, great information. I think most of us deal with insecurity and fear, and I think this is a great topic. And I know you go deeper in the book, Author Straight Talk. And by the way, Sarah's going to be giving away some first editions, early editions, maybe autographed. You're going to sign a few, maybe?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Signed, autographed.
Yeah, so if you haven't done so already, subscribe here. You'll get more information. This is actually where you're going to find out about that first, or follow her on Instagram. You can find that link below as well. Next time on Author Straight Talk with Sarah Gertis, we're going to talk about tools and time management. You don't want to miss it. That's next time right here on Author Straight Talk.